Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. In today's video, we're going to briefly analyze how Nuno Espirito Santo won the tactical battle over Pep Guardiola and Tottenham's 1-0 win over Man City. So when we break down the game and we do look at the board, we have both sides starting the game in a 4-3-3. So first we'll look at City and how they were looking to attack this Spurs backline, then shift to how Spurs were looking to disrupt City's attacking structure, and then we'll finish off this video by focusing on how Spurs were able to cause City's backline issues. When we focus on City's overall attack, that 4-3-3 ended up shifting off into a 4-1-5 in possession, and what we ended up seeing once again was that the fullbacks did remain narrow. Although they were a bit wider, they stayed deep, and then you had Fernandinho just ahead of the back four. Mahrez and Sterling were hugging the touchline, and you had Ferran Torres occupying the two center backs. And then you would see Gundogan and Grealish in the half spaces between the lines, and they were positioning themselves in between the fullbacks and the center backs. Ferran Torres operated in a similar role where he was looking to drop off deeper to receive the ball or drag out a center back, and then look to sprint in behind as City's backline or midfield would look to dump balls into the space that he created. However, City's 4-1-5 encountered issues against Spurs solely due to the fact that Nuno Espirito Santos' tactics were spot on. Rather than dropping off in a deeper 4-5-1, here he remained that 4-3-3 out of possession, and Spurs' overall approach was to ensure that City couldn't play through the midfield zone or get the ball into Fernandinho. So while they weren't pressing higher up the pitch to close down Ruben Dias and Ake from playing positive passes, what we often saw was that there were 6 players boxed in between Fernandinho, and it was more of a hexagonal shape. Gundogan and Grealish now couldn't get on the ball in those pockets of space between the lines because there was no service into them, and that ultimately forced City to play out in the wider areas. Even if there were times where you would see Grealish dropping off into that pocket of space between Skip and Højbjerg, you would see Højbjerg simply get tight on Grealish to ensure that he couldn't get on the ball. Ultimately, in that midfield zone, it should be Grealish against Højbjerg and Dele Alli against Gundogan, but because Gundogan and Grealish were occupying higher positions, you'd see Dyer stepping to Gundogan, and then you'd see Sanchez at times pushing forward to close down Grealish. It was clear in the early stages of this game that Spurs were looking to be solid defensively, and then look to exploit the City backline with the pace of Bergwijn, Son, and Lucas Moura. That ultimately is why Cancelo and Mendy weren't adventurous with their positioning in the opening stages of this game, and that presented issues for City's build-up play. Because if Fernandinho can't get on the ball, then you have Grealish and Gundogan starve for service out in those advanced positions, and that ultimately forced Grealish to drop off deeper to get on the ball, and although at times he was able to evade challenges to win free kicks, this is what Spurs wanted, as Højbjerg can now step forward to close him down. Even at times when Benjamin Mendy would push forward, Spurs were pretty competent down that right-hand side, as Tanganga, Højbjerg, and Skip would shift across to make it a 3v3, and then if the balls were played in behind those players, Sanchez would be able to shift across to sweep up danger. Ultimately, Spurs always had one of their midfield shuttlers or Skip occupying the half spaces, so you would often see Skip or Højbjerg shifting across to protect Tanganga if Sterling received the ball down that left channel. Here you can see Sterling carrying the ball across Tanganga with Grealish making an overlapping run, and you have Davinson Sanchez and Skip shifting across for cover. Grealish's overlapping run ends up carrying away Tanganga, and that allows Sterling to carry the ball into the box, and that's where you see Skip beginning to shift across into the half space for cover. As Sterling looks to carry the ball into that zone towards the byline, you could see him gaining a yard on Skip, and from here he has to deliver a first-time ball because Sanchez is coming across. However, Sterling doesn't look to do that, and he enables Skip time to recover his positioning, and he ends up making a last-ditch sliding tackle to halt the attack. And over on the right-hand side, Dele Alli would drop off deeper to help out Reguilón if Mahrez received the ball on the touchline. And then when we focus on the issues that City encountered defensively, as you can see in that 4-1-5, you only have Fernandinho protecting the back four, and like I said, with Bergwijn, Lucas Moura, and Son presenting speed in transition, you want Mendy and Cancelo to adopt deeper narrow positions. However, as that game continued, there were times where Mendy did venture forward, and there were times where both of the fullbacks ventured forward, and that's where you end up having gaps in those channels for Lucas Moura, Bergwijn, or Son to break into. And whenever that did occur, when Spurs were able to win possession, there was ample space for them to break into. On top of that, Fernandinho simply couldn't cover the ground in that midfield zone, and it was one of the reasons why last season City often shifted into a 3-2-5 when they were in possession, because they were able to have the three center backs for cover, and then they would have Cancelo or Zinchenko shifting narrow to present cover for Fernandinho or Rodri. However, here, if you have Cancelo and Mendy pushing forward, you only have Fernandinho ahead of the center backs, and he simply couldn't deal with the pace of that front three. And there were other times where he was simply bypassed because there was so much space available in that midfield zone. And he was equally unreliable in possession when Spurs looked to press him on the ball. Here you could see Sterling laying the ball off to Grealish, and he's instantly closed down by Davinson Sanchez with Højbjerg within close proximity. And Sterling's looking to receive the ball back as he makes a run across Tanganga. Davinson Sanchez does well to force Grealish towards the touchline, and that's where you see Højbjerg closing in to make it a 1v2. The obvious passing option is to play the ball back to Benjamin Mendy, but Mendy's forward loose pass hits off Davinson Sanchez, and it falls to Lucas Moura, who can now play the ball into Højbjerg as Mendy's caught higher up the pitch. As you can see, as Højbjerg carries the ball into City's half, you have Mendy and Cancelo caught out of position, and it creates a 3v2 opportunity that ultimately results in a Spurs corner. Then you could see Fernandinho winning the loose ball ahead of Bergwijn, and as he looks to play it across Dele Alli, you could see Mahrez looking to receive it ahead of Reguilón. But when he plays that pass into the path of Mahrez, Reguilón steps in, and now look at the Spurs break being built as Fernandinho's caught out of position and Bergwijn's free between the lines. As the play develops, Bergwijn carries the ball into the final third, and he has Lucas Moura peeling off Mendy towards his right, and Son breaking beyond Cancelo down the left channel. Bergwijn opts to slide the ball into the path of Son, and from this position he could carry the ball into the box to have a shot on goal, or attempt to slide it across the 6-yard box for Lucas Moura breaking off Mendy at the back post. He opts to carry the ball towards the byline, and it gives Cancelo the opportunity to recover his positioning, and that results in Son being forced back towards the edge of the box. Following Sterling carrying the ball across Skip, as he approaches the Spurs box, he's closed down by Tanganga and Højbjerg shifting across. When he carries the ball forward, that's when you see Højbjerg stepping in to make a challenge, and as he does win the ball, focus on Mendy's positioning on the left channel. When Højbjerg wins the ball, he ends up sliding it into the path of Lucas Moura, and that enables him to ignite a Spurs attack, but focus on Cancelo's advanced positioning in the right channel. As Lucas Moura carries the ball into City's half, you could see neither Ake or Fernandinho stepping forward to apply pressure, Cancelo continuing to recover his position in the halfway circle, and then you could see Son making a run across Ruben Dias to get himself in a 1v1 position. When Son receives the ball, the issue that he encounters is his first touch, as it does bounce behind him, and it provides Cancelo the opportunity to recover his positioning. By the time Son does get a second touch on the ball, you can see Cancelo already back in position to the left of Ruben Dias, and while Son does have Lucas Moura and Bergwijn to his left and to his right to play the ball into, he opts to put the ball onto his right foot, and neither Ruben Dias or Cancelo step forward to apply pressure, and he bends an effort inches wide of the net. In the build-up to Son's winner, we have to look to the initial City attack and focus on the positioning of Mendy and Cancelo. You can see them in the final third higher up the pitch, but as Mendy's cross is cleared by the Spurs backline, you end up seeing it fall into the path of Lucas Moura, who pulls out Fernandinho, but Fernandinho doesn't get tight, or to flick the ball over Fernandinho into the path of Bergwijn, who makes an unmarked run beyond Fernandinho. When Bergwijn does receive the ball, now you can see the Spurs break being built as Son begins to spin into the right channel off Nathan Ake. As we continue to watch that play develop, the pass into the right channel places Son in a 1v1 against Ake, and that's when you're expecting Fernandinho or Benjamin Mendy to shift across for cover. However, neither player does, and they allow Son to cut across the City center back. Neither Mendy or Fernandinho step forward to close him down or attempt to block the shot, and that's how Son's able to put Spurs ahead. In the opening stages of the second half, you could witness Dele Alli stepping to Fernandinho to apply pressure, and you could focus on Mendy's high positioning in that move, and that's where you end up seeing Dele Alli win possession from Fernandinho to launch a Spurs attack. Then you could witness a time where Højbjerg carries the ball towards the halfway line with Ferran Torres looking to come across to apply pressure, and that's where he sees a gap between Fernandinho and Mendy for the run of Bergwijn breaking off the Brazilian to receive the ball in between the lines to launch a Spurs attack. So as you can see, this was a well-deserved Spurs win that featured Nuno's 4-3-3 disrupting City's 4-1-5 and then quickly exploiting Fernandinho and the advanced fullbacks in transition. Hi everybody, thanks for watching and subscribe here for your latest tactical analysis and daily commentary on the InnerViews show. And if that wasn't enough, don't forget you could find more organic, unfiltered soccer/football analysis on the InnerViews podcast, the best soccer/football podcast in the world, available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and any Android apps on your Android devices.